Second. Here we go. So good morning, everybody. My name is Sorka Finucane and I'm the owner and founder of Trained In. We are absolutely delighted to be bringing you this 12-step marketing program on behalf of Taste for Success Skillnet. They are very kindly sponsored this in full, which is allowing you guys to attend for free. So thank you so much to Bridie and the team at Taste for Success. We will, as part of the program, require all of you to complete a feedback form. So at the very end of the 12 steps, and once you complete the feedback form, you will get a certificate of attendance for all of the sessions. We have over 20 people registered today, which is amazing, from lots of different businesses, from life coaching to personal training to floristry to restaurants and bars and hotels. So it's just great to have so many people here attending this session. We have three amazing trainers and instructors working with us here who are highly experienced in their different fields in the world of marketing. We have Marc Thornton, who is going to be bringing you through the first couple of days of strategic marketing and practical marketing. Then we have the amazing Vivian Gleason, who's going to bring you through PR and communications, and the fantastic Niall Parfait, who is going to bring you through all things digital media, so digital marketing, sorry. So everything in terms of Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, SEO, and digital marketing itself, an introduction to digital marketing. So it's giving you a real 360 of marketing of your business. We're going to help you or give you the tools to create proper strategic marketing plans for your business and give you the ability to be able to execute them yourself, or an understanding of how to talk to people who are doing it for you. Today we have the three instructors on with us this morning because we wanted to do an introduction on one day so that we're not wasting the time going through intros as each of the different trainers take over, and it's nice that we all kind of meet together. So without further ado, Niall, I'll let you go first because I know you're under time pressure as well to go out. And once we go through the instructors, we'll open it up to people on the floor just to give us a really quick intro of who you are and what you do and what you hope to get out of today. And hopefully we'll have all those done in like half an hour and we can kick off with Marc. So Niall, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sorka. Delighted to be here. Hello, everyone. My name is Niall Parfait. I'm a marketing professional with over 20 years experience working with large and small to medium enterprises across the whole of Ireland, but now across Europe and America as well. I run an inbound marketing agency, Atlanticus Digital, and I'm experienced in all areas of social media marketing, web and email marketing, inbound marketing. And Sorka, as mentioned, I've worked alongside Sorka for years now on a number of training sessions across the whole of Ireland, one including on Post, the ITAA as well. I run a platinum HubSpot agency partner. I am also on the Intertrade Ireland and Enterprise program. So I've had a good bit of experience, practical experience of training small to medium enterprises. I'm also a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing and on 3 charity boards, which has been hugely rewarding for me. The areas I'll be looking at, as Sorka mentioned, will be digital marketing. So obviously, what is digital marketing? The digital marketing channels that you can look at things like pay-per-click, social media, how you can measure your performance then as well. And then starting to set up KPIs and then how to implement digital marketing strategies. I'll also, as Sorka mentioned, look at the fundamentals of social media. So looking at the key ones, I suppose, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and then from the B2B sense, LinkedIn, as well as how you can start to look at engagement and measure performance on those platforms. And then finally, good old search engine optimization, how you can rank higher for keywords on search engines such as Google. So looking at things like how SEO impacts on the customer journey, looking at digital copywriting, keyword analysis, and search engine optimization tools there. So it's going to be practical learning. You know, it's not going to be sitting and listening to me. Thank goodness for you. So there'll be a lot of practical elements that we'll introduce just to give you a really good understanding on how to use and apply these skills. Okay, thank you very much, Sorka.
Great, Niall. Great to hear your vast experience there. Viv, I'll move over to you.
Yeah, great. And I'll keep this as brief because I know you've a lot to go through there. So my name is Vivian Gleeson. I have over 15 years PR agency experience. And in 2018, I set up on myself by myself as a consultant. But my background is in family business. So my parents had a pub. My sister now owns that pub. So I come at it from both sides. I can see when you're the business owner and you've got everything going on. You've got the insurance, you know, overhead, staff, everything coming at you. And then someone says, we need to do PR. And you're like, that's the last thing on my mind. But I obviously have my PR experience and the value and how powerful having a good PR communications plan for your business will help you. But obviously I love working with smaller businesses to empower the owner to be able to do it for themselves, because I know how time poor that many owners are, and they're stressed and they've other stuff going on, their private lives or families, home life. So I really understand that. So I'm very passionate about helping business owners be able to do it themselves. In my career and over the years, I have worked with, like now, big organizations or smaller organizations. I would have managed United Airlines. I've worked with Borbia, the Bloom Festival. I currently work with the Irish Food Awards, Blossom Heron. So I work with a lot of food producers and drink producers around the country, all Ireland. I mentor a lot of businesses. I provide PR services, but I more mentor business owners and I'm a trainer as well. So at the moment, I work with a client called Viva Green, and they're manufacturers of eco-friendly products. So I have a kind of a broad experience in all different sectors. So I've political, health, pharmaceutical, business, corporate, food, tourism. I've been there, and really all it's about communication, how you, what message you're trying to say into the audience you're trying to say it. So we'll be going through in our sessions, very practical, similar to Niall, like the practical, how it really will help you, and getting to know you. But today will really help me tailor it down to everyone here. And what is PR? A lot of people ask me, what's the difference between PR and advertising and marketing and digital marketing? What is the difference? So I'll run through that with you, and we'll talk about your different audiences, and not just PR. People kind of think that's with media and getting press coverage, but there's a lot to do with PR about your stakeholders and how you communicate with them. So your clients, your customers, your local politicians, your community, and the media. So, but we will go in more practical. We will look at media to see how you deal with media, how you identify them, how you write a press release, all these different things. Imagery, we'll talk about different aspects of PR and dealing with media in our session. And I'm really, really looking forward to meeting everyone. And again, very interactive questions, ask me anything, and what helps you, and tailoring programs that help are tailored towards what you're able to do and your business. So really looking forward to getting stuck in.
Amazing. God, we got such a wealth of experience between all of our guys here at the moment. I see we've got a couple of people joining in. So just to give you a quick intro, we're doing intros with all of the trainers. So, and we're recording right now, so you can watch the first couple. But I'm going to hand you over to Marc Thornton, who's delivering your first session today. And then we'll do a really quick intro for everybody who's on the call. So Marc, over to yourself.
Thank you very much. I'm kind of perhaps the older lemon here of the three of us, but fantastic experience among the three presenters. My name is Marc Thornton. I have a company called DTA Marketing. I established it 26 years ago, having worked in very large multinational companies, the last one of which was head of marketing in Superquin, which is now owned by SuperValu, AIB, Deloitte, and Securicore, which is now G4S. So I bring big world marketing to small companies and very practical stuff. And like Vivian and Niall, there'll be strategic elements of marketing, but also very practical elements of marketing. It's appropriate that I'm the first one to start in the sense of setting the scene in marketing. it's kind of the overview, as perhaps you might understand it. And where I come from is the more traditional marketing, in the sense of getting the roots right, getting the basics right. I would be a little critical of, I suppose, people specializing in marketing without having done general marketing first, because, you know, understanding the needs and wants of customers is the basis of all marketing. And sometimes people jump in with activities rather than thinking about the marketing bit, if I could be as blunt as that. So it's appropriate that we start today and the next week with strategic, and then we get into the practical. And like Vivian and Niall, it's very how to do it. I'm going to look at logos, they're going to look at websites, and perhaps your websites. If you're on the call that day and you're open to it, we can constructively look at your stuff. It's lovely to see some people in the room that I know and I've worked with before in the past. David, lovely to see you again. So it's very much strategic, only just to kind of understand that bit and get into the very practical bit, and it'll set itself up nicely for digital and PR. So again, like the others, love to know about your business, and at any time it's going to be interactive and chatty. It's not overly formal at all. Thank you.
Great stuff. I think, Mark, you've brought up the average, the count of years of experience there, probably to about 70, but that's fantastic. No problem. Well, listen, we're so delighted to have everybody here on the call. As I said, we've over 20 people registered and we got great attendance this morning, which is brilliant. It's all down to your own interaction as well, because we learn from each other and hearing everybody's stories. If anybody wants specific assistance or mentoring or tutoring with any of our instructors throughout the course after this, please get in touch with us and we will sort it out and could potentially get it funded for you as well. So we're going to do a really quick intro. Just tell us who you are, what part of the country that you're in, and what your business is. And I'll start at the top of my screen. So David, you're the first in the corner there for me.
Oh, great. David Murphy. I'm an image maker, I like to call myself, but basically a commercial photographer. I studying marketing and got into photography through that. And I've worked in pretty much every aspect of photography, including public relations. I worked for the big guns like McInnes Photography and Venel Photography in the 80s. So that was kind of my start in life. I'm now basically a studio photographer. I do mostly portrait work. So making images for people for their LinkedIn, for their websites, and for whatever else, throwing darts at or whatever else I want to do. This is my COVID beard. Welcome to Eric. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. What hoping to get out of the course? Well, you know, I'm a photographer. I like making images, and that's about it. I hate the idea of having to sell myself. I hate the idea of talking about myself. But I need to learn how to put myself out there and build a business, because I'm probably, again, like Mark, the elder lemon here, and I need to kind of get it going to get myself a retirement fund, basically, and enjoy taking pictures and not have to panic every time I go looking for a new client. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Great. Thanks very much for sharing, David. I love photography. I wish I could do it myself. It's an art. Tanya, over to you.
Morning, everybody.
Hi.
So Tanya, I'm in the Midlands, and currently I have a small sole trader business called A Time to Gather, which was born out of essentially me coming off frontline services as a psychotherapist, and initially having the theme of creating events with deep and meaningful themes. So the focus was loss and lament, so supporting people with their grief and end-of-life care, and some psychotherapeutic work online with the mystical and near-death experiences. So that's I'm not drawing a huge crowd, as you can imagine, but so it's quite specialized. But then I'm currently getting support at looking at transitioning to open a concept called Keepstones, which would be essentially a cremation product, and the product would be nested into a care service. So the product would be a tool for people to reconnect with their grief. But I actually attended an IP session yesterday, and I'm feeling a bit deflated today because I might have patent issues, because there is a similar company doing something well, from a product related point of view. I've been on to the patent office there this morning, so I could be stopped in my tracks, and I might have to relook at things, you know. And I'm actually getting Ciara Bruton there to give me some support around mentoring. So I mean, look, I'll work it out, but I can't say I'm sitting here with a crystal clear idea of what it is I'm doing in the world, and that actually makes it quite difficult, you know, for me to focus at the moment. But I'm sure, you know, the course will give me maybe the tools I need to get clearer about what it is that I'm offering, because that's the why, isn't it? So that's me.
Great, Tanya, thanks for sharing that. It's a very interesting space, and look, everybody needs that support, so it's about finding how you connect with people and get to that space. I think it's very interesting about the stones. In our new venture, we're going to have a memorial forest in it. So yeah. Anyway, watch this space. Audrey, I know you have to go, so I'll go to you next. So if you want to jump in there.
Thanks, Circa. Hi, everyone.
No worries.
My name is Audrey Quaden. I'm based in Drogheda, and myself and Raymond Cadwell have a company called the Institute of Biomagnetic Therapy. And we're qualified therapists, and we work with magnets. So we're looking at all the microbes, bacteria, fungal infections, viruses in the body. So it's very apt at the moment with COVID, but they've always been here. Just people think, you know, well, I've got measles. What's wrong with me? That's just your body's reacting to the virus that's inside your body. So we train students to become therapists. Now we are have been working with a company for the last year, very reputable company, but they're just, we don't think they're necessarily getting us. You know, it's as like Tanya, it's a very specialized environment. We work with multi-dimensional medicine, so trauma is huge in everybody. And so although they've been fantastic with us, I'm here, and I'm so glad I found this yesterday. I'm here so that I can nearly take over doing what they do. You know, they can hold my hand for another while yet, but I really would like to just do it all ourselves, or as much as I can. So thank you to the mentors that are sitting in. I'm going to eat your brains, or I'll be like Star Trek having a mind melt. I mean that. And I didn't see an awful lot of smiles there for the Trekkies in the house. Thank you. But unfortunately, as I said, I only saw this yesterday and signed up, and I was delighted to be included. So I'm going to have another meeting clash at 10:30, so I'm going to have to go. But thanks for the intro, and I'll be back on very shortly.
No problem, Audrey. Thanks so much for joining. I know to jump in for the intro was important, because you get this interaction at the start. Yeah. And as I said earlier on, it's even while we give you the tools to be able to do something yourself, it's not that you're going to be able to go out and manage your entire business, but you'll have the understanding of being able to understand what an expert you're working with will require, and why they need it.
Yeah, because they've been extremely good, but they don't want to teach, because naturally we're paying them to do a service. So I'd like to know a lot more, to understand, so that I could even help out. But thank you.
No worries. Mags, I'll move to you in Bumblebee Flower Farm. You're on mute there, Mags. There you go.
I always forget that. Hi, really excited about this, because I'm about to, I suppose, rebrand and relaunch. So basically, I'm an ecological flower farmer, and I focus on nectar-rich flowers that are nutrient dense, both for humans and our pollinators, especially. It's a very holistic approach. I have a whole systems approach. It's regenerative agriculture. So it's protecting all of us and the soil life. And that last customer, or last person, Aisling, I can totally relate to, because I'm all about the soil microbiology and how it directly affects everything from our water to our food to just everything. It has the potential to cure all our problems. I'm training as a soil food web consultant, and want to, I suppose, bring a new experience. I'm looking at possibly corporate, where I can bring people here on the farm to help educate, but in an experiential sort of a way, through the beautiful flowers that we grow that support all of the biodiversity, but also 70% of what I grow is actually edible. So there's that incredible food element as well, and that what you see growing in a tunnel or the field, you can sit down to lunch and have a whole meal created from those ingredients. So it's not just a farm visit, if you know what I mean. But it's building that out. I don't have the knowledge or the experience. So I think that this course, and again, I only spotted it a couple of days ago, I kind of went, oh my God. So I would imagine I'm going to get a huge amount from this. Really excited about it. Unfortunately, I can't stay for the full day today because I had something else that I was tied up with, but and it's going to be recorded, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
I think this could be my missing link.
Great, Max, delighted to have you here. And I seen some of the flowers on your website. It's blown away when I saw them on Tuesday. So thank you so much for being here. Aisling, you're next on my hit list. Over to you. I know you're in the Dolman.
Of course. Can I skip to the next one? It's just I'm in a room with someone and they're on the phone. So
no problem. Kira, over to you.
Hi everyone, lovely to be here. My name is Kira Bruton and I work as a holistic business mentor. So for holistic spiritual businesses, I also do web design and teach courses about starting your business as a spiritual holistic kind of practitioner. So yeah, I'm here because I know a lot about marketing in terms of niche and kind of copywriting and how to present that clearly and things like that. But there's definitely things that I'm not knowledgeable about in terms of PR and different things like that. And also just, you know, making sure that I know as much as I can kind of thing is another part as well. In terms of web design as well, I'd be quite strong in web design, but there's always more to learn in terms of the SEO and all that as well. So yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Great. What part of the country are you in?
Oh, I'm in Athlone.
Athlone. Brilliant. Yeah. Donna, I know, sorry, Kira, thank you so much. Donna, I'll move on to you. I know if you're there to talk, Donna is a good woman. Donna's multitasking today. She's got her earbuds in while working in the kitchen. Love it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Donna. I'm based in Cork. I own a catering company called Ruth's Kitchen. We do private and corporate catering, and our three main pillars are flavour, nourishment, fun. And we're open 5 years. So the last 2 years have kind of been a bit up and down. We've done many different things to stay afloat. While this was all going on, we developed a salsa, and we're aiming to get into the retail space, developing a range of products that we want to bring out there to make catering at home easy. If you're doing it yourself, you know that you have these like range of sauces or salsas that is already developed, and that you can just bring it out and add it to something, and it just makes life easier. That we could bring our expertise into a product and, you know, make it easier for people at home to bring flavour into their food without hassle. So this course really would be great for me to gain access to all types of marketing, PR, all that kind of stuff, because we kind of like more word of mouth, I suppose, for the last 5 years. We've never really like learned a lot about marketing or anything like that. So something like this would be great for me.
Great. That sounds amazing, Donna, to be honest. So feel free yourself and everybody else to pop your LinkedIn or anything like that into the chat, and we can connect and where we can buy that product. So because it sounds gorgeous. Thanks a million. I know you're on the fly there. Julian, you're next. I know your camera's off, so if you're able to engage, that'd be great. I'll give you a second. You're on mute there if you're speaking. I'm not sure if your camera's off. I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nope. Anya, I'll move over to you. If you're there.
Good morning, everyone. How are we?
Well, thanks.
Sorry, my camera is off because I'm having a little bit of Wi-Fi issues today, and I find sometimes when I put on the camera, it drains it a bit more. So I hope you don't mind. So my name is Anya, and I'm based here in Mayo. I just saw the this course come up there a few days ago. It caught my eye, and I guess I'm just kind of looking to upskill a little bit. So for me, I'm involved in a number of voluntary organizations, and I do a lot of their social media. And I guess I'm just trying to improve my skills and how I can kind of do it more effectively and just learn some of the new things that are coming out. And as well as that, I just recently set up a business teaching small business owners how to use Canva effectively. I'm a big lover of Canva. I use it for pretty much everything. So while I develop some images or presentations for some clients, I love to teach people how to use it more effectively themselves to save time and save money. So yeah, just here today really to see what I can learn, and I'm really excited to see what the next few weeks bring. So thanks for having me.
Super. Anya, thanks a million. I think we're done. Ashling's moved away from her desk. Julian, if you're there, give me a shout. And Niall, I know you have to jump off. And Viv, I know you have to jump off as well. And we're bang on the half an hour mark for you to take over. That's fabulous.
Cheerio.
So,
bye.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for jumping in today. And we'll
Great,
see
best
you
of
in the
luck.
next couple of weeks.
Best of luck.
Mark. The
Great.
platform is yours.
Did Tanya speak? Did I miss that? Or she did.
Tanya,
speak, yeah.
I think she did.
She spoke earlier on.
She was number 2.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take over. Yes, indeed. Thanks to my fellow presenters for their introductions. Let me just get up the screen to share with you what we're going to cover today.
Put myself on mute here for you.
Yeah. Great stuff. You see the screen, guys?
Yep, all good, Mark.
Great stuff, yeah. So this is pretty much an open interactive session, and please feel free to kind of interrupt if you want, or put a question in the chat. And this is very, very informal. So there's the little bit of background to me. I mentioned that already. So what we're going to cover over the 3 days is the following. Marketplace assessment and looking at those tools. Some of you have heard of SWOT, and while that's great and so on, it's how to use it effectively from a marketing point of view. How to set your objectives and goals, which is very important, and some of you may be confused about your offering, and to get clarity around that, to identify your targets and your bullseye customers, and also your core message. What do you need to get across? Somebody mentioned their pillars. Yes, the roots, Donna, and I love, that's a concept I've used it with all my clients over all the years. It's Donna, it's a fantastic idea. It gets across immediately your point of difference, and I'm sure others we can learn from that. And indeed, Mags and trying to explain a challenging offering is not easy. You need a slogan or a subline, or you need pillars, and we'll come to that later on. Logo, branding, all into the marketing tools, a little bit of eMarks, a little bit of social media, only from just an overview point of view, and then developing into action plans. In fact, one of the things I love to do when I give courses is to get you to actually get a separate page in your notepad, if you've got a notepad in front of you. And as you go along, you might write down things you're going to do in the marketing sphere, or that might affect your marketing as a result of the stuff that comes up today. So don't hesitate to kind of have a spot, rather than scribble notes in a notepad, but have one page separate, because it's always good to look back and see at the end of a session, what am I going to change as a result of what I learned today? I worked in AIB, I mentioned before. I was on courses that are coming out my ears. I got handouts that size. Then you got CD-ROMs, and then you got sticks. Nobody ever reads the notes afterwards. I mean, I could send you thousands of pages of PowerPoint presentations. Nobody looks at that stuff. But what they do remember is what they got out of a course. And that, I think, is quite important. So specifically, I'm not going to ask you to reintroduce yourself now, but is there any topics that you want, really burning topics that you want covered in the next couple of days? Please put in the chat, or just speak out loud and tell me. Is there anything marketing that you want to learn specifically? Is there anything that's on your mind? No, just I'll follow my agenda and go along with it. That's good. Okay, thanks, Emil. Thanks for that. So I'm going to ask you, maybe just give me a little bit of feedback. What is your favorite advert and why? So if you unmute yourselves and we get a little discussion going from a marketing point of view, if you've seen anything, TV, posters, radio, or even yesteryear, some of us might be a bit older, might remember famous ad campaigns. Anyone that catches your eye or a slogan?
I love the not Next, the English company. What are they called? See, I can't even remember. Yeah, their Christmas ads.
Yeah.
And it's the emotional tug.
Yeah.
It's the feel good. It's like that Christmas movie. I can't think of the name of it now. But it's just it's goodness. It's hope.
Yeah. Well, Max, can I just say you're very interesting. You mentioned that ad because John Lewis ads were awaited every Christmas because they put such an effort into those ads, and that has sparked a huge trend. And the reason I'm relating it to the trend is that that's what happens in marketing. So John Lewis for years had made these ads. Then Marks and Spencer started getting into them, none of which include product, by the way, which is kind of amazing for a clothing company. And now one of my favorites, if I could say so, was the Super Value ad with the reindeer and the little child crying as they all say, go back to Santa Claus. I don't know if you've seen it. The reindeer is running up the road and the parents are going, for God's sake, this is just a reindeer from the Phoenix Park, but it creates fantastic brand imagery. Yeah. Ciara, you're in social media and all the rest. Have you a favorite ad or an interesting one? You're on mute. Ciara?
I don't really watch TV, so I only get bombarded with ads off YouTube, which are very not my favorite. They're generally made to kind of annoy you more so, aren't they? So I don't watch TV that much. I suppose the one that came to my mind as like kind of iconic when you said it first was the Guinness ad, the guy dancing around the pint.
Yes.
So
the Dada.
Yeah.
Do you know that guy, Joe McGinty, has never done an ad since?
No.
Because he's so associated with that famous ad. I think people in nightclubs used to dance to that as well too.
I've actually seen him once and we all did the dance, But I think it was just good. The music is catchy and I suppose it's just, you have to wait for a pint of Guinness, so
yes, that's it. And it's sometimes we don't always get the message. Yeah. David, do you have a favorite ad, or can you remember a photograph on a billboard?
So often that I can't say of any favourites, but one thing I always get a giggle at is the little ad at the moment where they talk about how much money they're saving, and they probably save more except for the middle aisle, and your man has a giggle about that. But it's so much fun, and it just catches your imagination. What's this middle aisle? And the middle aisle is amazing. So it's good. It's a good catchy one.
Yes.
For getting used to the idea of going to little for the middle aisle as well as saving money. So that's a giggle one that I like. I like the ones that make me laugh.
That's and interesting thing, there's lots of adverts that are memorable, as in I remember part of the ad, and the challenge often is who's the product, who's the ad for, it's you can lose it sometimes. Now here's an interesting fact that you may not know about advertising and marketing, is that there's two facts I'm going to give you. One is that you need to see an advert or a marketing message between 4 to 7 times before it sinks in. So you need to repeat advertising, you need to repeat messages. You can't do one thing on social media, one thing somewhere and say, well, I spent €300 with that and that should be it. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately, which is why radio and TV have to repeat itself so much. And do you know why you have to, when you're doing promotions or anything like that, why you have to do it between 4 to 7 times? Or why don't people see it? It's because our brain filters out stuff. We have a thing called the frame of reference. Everything you see and hear goes into your brain. I know it's unbelievable. I mean, every single thing from the age of 0. You are hearing stuff. You just can't get it out, perhaps. And as you get older, it's funny because you might have people older than me. You might even have people with Alzheimer's or people who are in their 80s and 90s, and they recall their first Holy Communion. They recall their holiday going to somewhere when they were 4, and you're going, Granny, you didn't know what you had for breakfast. How can you? Because it's in there. But the brain can't cope with too much stuff. So it filters stuff. And that's the problem we have in marketing, is that you could be, I don't know, doing stuff in the marketing sphere, and yet people won't notice it. And you're going, but God, I might not see it. It's because it wasn't important to them at that time. It wasn't relevant. And that, unfortunately, is a key part of marketing. Okay. Love the Irish Times. Fudge Ireland may have been in for the American market. Yeah, Tourism Ireland do wonderful stuff. Coca-Cola coming home. Yeah, thank you very much. And those Christmas feel-good ads have really made a huge difference now to just advertising around Christmas time. That's true for sure. Okay. Moving on, Einstein, and and I'm sure you can relate this to your business, and I know some of you in the room, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're going to get the same result. And to think that you might get a different result, Einstein says that's insanity or madness. And I think that's true. So if you want to grow your business, if you want to get into different products or services, you have to do something different. And I'm taking it as a personal challenge to help you guys grow your business through doing something different, not the same thing day in, day out, okay? And it might require you to look at your logo, it might require you to look at your messaging, it might require you to define some of the things you do in a slightly different way or describe them slightly differently. And some of you have already said, maybe I'm not 100% sure of my product or service, maybe the message isn't getting across and you need help with that, whether it's from me or others, or just stimulate thoughts that you might get from today. I think the key thing is that you assess where you are and you move forward. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the question, what is marketing? Because it's such a huge field and such a huge area. So would you take 30 seconds to write down in your own words, what is marketing? We would just do that for a couple of minutes for me, okay? So if you're trying to explain to somebody else, what is marketing? How would you describe marketing to somebody else? Right? I think it's a fair question. It's a tricky question, of course. So what is marketing in your own words? Kira, thank you very much. Telling people about what you do and why it's beneficial. Okay, so a lot of it's aimed at selling, getting your product sold. Yeah. Anyone like to give me a definition? Hello, Aisling. Hello, Aisling.
Sorry, I'm back now.
Don't worry, don't worry. You're in Carlow, is that right?
I am, yeah, down in the Woodford Dolman Hotel.
Yeah, I'll be down with you in a couple of weeks' time.
I know, this is actually why I signed up, because they're all talking about you, and they're like,
oh
Mark is brilliant, Mark is brilliant. So I was like, okay, definitely have to log on to this one. So
yeah, I'm
doing no pressure now, Mark.
Thank you very much. Yeah. For the benefit of the others, it's customer care training and things like that we're going to work with your team on. It's not right. That's another one of my things to do. Okay, so who'd like to volunteer? What's marketing? Kira's put it in the chat. Anyone, just in your own words, just I'm slightly curious, but I'm also, it's important that we're on the same page. So when I say marketing, we're all together on this. Building awareness about your product, attracting targets, selling your product and service. Well done, Anya. Yeah. Tanya, have you thoughts on what marketing is?
I just put it down there and said, I think it's a process that draws on concepts, imagery, and story to attract potential interest in a specific area of business.
Right, presumably your own and get it over the line. Yeah.
Yeah, presumably.
Okay. Marie Fleming, are you there? I know we can't see your face.
I'm here, Mark.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm really unwell, so that's why I've got a flu.
Don't worry. And what's your business? I
apologize about that. So I'm quite hoarse at the moment.
Okay.
But I am here.
Put stuff in the chat. What's your business?
I'm marketing. I work in marketing.
All right. For yourself or for a company?
I work for some local small businesses.
Okay, as a consultant?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a bit like me, a marketing consultant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's social media management more than marketing consultant.
Okay, and where are you based?
And just outside Dundalk, County Louth.
All right. Okay. Very nice. Good. I'm up that way on Monday where am I? The Fairways.
I live like 2 seconds from the Fairways.
Oh my God. I'm working with the local credit union up there. Yeah. Good.
Oh, in Blackrock. Is it Connect Credit Union?
That's right. Connect. Yeah.
Very good.
So marketing is about communicating your brand message, building relationships offline and online. Okay. So let me just explain a couple of things about marketing. Okay. So the first thing that is worth explaining is that there's 2 sides to marketing. Okay. The misunderstanding about marketing, unless you've studied marketing or sat down on a marketing course, it's very difficult to understand, because even I was speaking about ads, we're talking about John Taylor and Coca-Cola ads and so on. That's an interesting part of marketing, but it's what we call the practical tools of marketing. Does that make sense? And in a practical sense, we have to have the tools because we want to get sales over the line. We want to get people come into our business, and we want to get people to know about our business. But the essence of marketing is slightly different. And I want to explain that to you. Now, you could have 20 different marketing tutors on the call today, and they'll all give you a different definition of marketing. They'll all chat about marketing in a different kind of way. I'm giving it to you from my experience and from what I know works as in terms of communication. So the tools of marketing, the practical side of marketing is like a major part of marketing, but the essence, the marketing concept is slightly different. And this is what I would regard as perhaps the most crucial part to understand about marketing, that it's really about the customer needs and wants, and then you deliver a product or service to make your money, if that makes sense. So the most important part of understanding the marketing concept is the customer needs and wants. So in other words, if there isn't enough customers who want your product or don't know about it, obviously, then you're not going to do well in business. Customer needs and wants change all the time. And what's popular and what's useful today may not be popular and in demand tomorrow or the next day. And that's a reality. And in every one of your businesses, things are changing phenomenally, okay? If there's a few people in the food industry here, food is changing at a phenomenal rates. We nearly had calorie counting in just before COVID. For some people, that's a disaster in the business because there's a lot of calories in the lovely dishes we all eat. And for other people, it's a fantastic opportunity because they produce healthy food and they see the trend towards, I think you'd all agree, there's a trend towards healthier food. People now know about calories, and obesity is a big issue, and all those sort of things. So people are very conscious of that. Some of you are in the psychological and coaching and mentoring field, and that's changing. I mean, I think we're all agreeing, we were chatting before you guys came in today, the poor people in Ukraine is just devastating, and we've just finished with COVID, and there's a whole load of people out there just nearly, I can't say can't cope, but they're, things have happened so fast in the last 3 years that they need help. So there's demand for more mentoring and guidance than there was ever before, perhaps. I think we'll all agree with that. So you need to understand what your customer needs and wants are. And it changes. And just because, and this is the danger with small businesses, I'm sure you've heard this from before, just because you're good at something doesn't mean there's a huge demand for your particular product or service. Do you follow? We fall into that trap. So I know Marie is not Marie, who is it in the Bumblebee Mags. Part of your challenge is getting your message across, and part of it's when you have something new or different, you have to educate the market as well too. We're going to talk about that. It's a thing called the product life cycle. Some of you may know about it, but that's something that if you start a new business, you have to be totally aware that it's a big challenge is to get across what you do. So I'm hoping you understand that the concept of marketing is about being customer driven and customer understanding, which is why you need to do research and other tools. And then the way you get people in the door and get stuff over the line is using the marketing tools. So most people will consider marketing about advertising and selling. They're the two buzzwords that people will always say, you know. And in fact, I have clients, and you'll have heard people say it, we need to do more marketing. And when people say that, I know they don't understand marketing. You know, they need to do more promotion to get people in the door. Marketing is going back to your roots and going back to your looking at your communication, all those tools. So I hope that's kind of helped a lot. We often say marketing is about common sense, gut feel, you know, doing the right thing. There's a huge amount of businesses in Ireland and elsewhere who have opened up and been very successful, and they've never been in a marketing class in their life because their product or service is in demand, or they've got a niche, they've got an area of the market that people really want what they have, and they've taken off and been hugely successful. And there's other people who have launched companies and been a flop and ran out of runway, I should say, because they haven't enough funds to keep it going, because they weren't able to get that over the line with the amount of customers that were needed to get them going. Okay. So let me just explain something about customer needs and wants. Have any of you ever studied Maslow? Ever hear of Maslow and his hierarchy of needs? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So marketing people talk about customer needs and wants. Well, really, we're talking about people's wants. It's just the way we express it. We have 5 basic needs, without giving you a lecture on Maslow now. And I think he's actually changed some of his concepts since. Somebody told me the other day. But when I studied Maslow, it was, you know, you need food, you need shelter, you need clothing, you need love. And then he talked about self-actualization and all that stuff. So people die of loneliness. And I know some of you are dealing with grief and so on. So it's very much one of the basic needs of people. But when you hear children talk or people talk, you know, in golf circles, you know, I need the new Taylor driver. And, you know, kids say, I need Nike trainers, mom. You know, I need the Man United jersey, whatever it is. You know, they don't need that at all. You know, they want it. And the criticism of marketing often is that we make people buy things. Have you ever heard that or blamed marketing people? Oh, you marketing people, you know, you make us buy this. We don't make anybody buy anything. We don't make you stay in your hotel. But if you didn't tell us about your hotel or the services you offer, people wouldn't go there. They wouldn't eat your lovely new salsa in that you're coming up with in Ruth's Kitchen. You can't make people do anything. You give them the choice, and you give us best choices you can so that they will buy your product over somebody else's. Okay, so basically I'm going to suggest we divide marketing into 2 halves. And today we're going to deal with the first part, the thinking strategic part. So if you're to open up a brand new business in the morning, I've often said to people, imagine your uncle died and had no kids, and you inherited, let's say, $250,000, $500,000. Now that might be enough to start up your business, but enough to get you going and maybe get a loan to get the rest. And you're pretty good at whatever you do. What's the first thing you do? Kira, what would you do now if you got a lump sum to start up a business, either some sort of what you're doing at the moment or something you were passionate about?
Probably need to think for a minute before I can answer you.
Well, let's just say you wanted to open a restaurant. Let's just all think about this for a minute, okay? I'd love to open a restaurant. You have to work in a restaurant and so on. What would you do?
I'd probably pay somebody else if I had the money to do the marketing analysis.
Yeah, but what analysis would you do?
I'd look at the demographics of the area, you know, what maybe track people's behaviors in the area that I was, or the environment that I was looking to set up in.
Would it be fair to say the magic research word? You do a bit of research.
Definitely, it would come under the category. Yeah, research.
Absolutely, and you might decide what type of food you'd offer, because if you offered,
if I had the money, though, I'd pay somebody else to do it for me.
Well, yeah, but I'm just thinking if they went off and did it, you have to direct them as to what to do. So
okay,
so
yeah.
you'd probably look and see what other types of restaurants are in your area.
Definitely,
Okay.
yeah.
And you'd see, would you do takeaway or would it be on site or both? Because I mean, that's how people have used the word pivot with COVID. And there's been some phenomenally, forget people who sell, you know, PP, what's it, personal protection gear, clothing, PPC gear. That was a lucky one. That landed on their plate completely. They had stuff in their storeroom that hadn't been used for years, and all of a sudden, you know, they couldn't get enough of it. But people pivoted their business so that they changed and now did takeaways. I mean, there's been really premium restaurants who earn more in takeaway than they did because they had a small seating capacity in their restaurant. And BlackRock, I've heard stories of people actually earning more money in COVID because they agreed to do 70 or 100 takeaways instead of 35 plates in their small restaurant. Isn't that incredible? And of course, now they are able to keep it up, or people did Christmas dinners. Like literally people bought Christmas dinners that was so all set for 4 people. Imagine buying your Christmas dinner raw, so to speak, all set, and all you had to do was cook it with the following instructions. I mean, people invented stuff because they could see the situation going on. But it's asking your customers, would you buy this if I sold it to you for 5, 10, 20 quid, wherever the price range you're in, to follow, testing the market. You need to do that rather than just jump in, because say you're good at baking and good at cooking, doesn't mean that your offering is going to be a huge success. So that's very important to understand that we do that. Then we look at competitors and what else is going on, and you need some tools to do that. And it might help you reorganize your business a bit and say, okay, maybe there's other opportunities I'm not taking advantage of. And then you start planning your marketing based on whatever your goals and objectives are. Then you start doing the right marketing tools. People often jump in and say, oh, I need your social media. And I'm sure there's 2 or 3 social media people in the room. And people come and say, oh, I need to be on Facebook. I need to advertise here. And the first question should be is, who's your customers? What are you selling? You know, what price range you're selling at? What's the message? All this stuff. And then you see which marketing tool is appropriate. Do you follow? Because I know, David, you're in the probably the corporate sector more with photography and so on. So, you know, there's no point in thinking I need to be on Facebook when most of your customers are a little older or they're too busy to look at Facebook, and you might need another way of communicating with them. To follow. So you have to think through, where are your customers and what do they read, look at, to where your message would go. And then what's your message? So you need to have a bit of thinking. And what I'm going to do today is show you the tools of how to think before you act. And then when you know what you want to do, then choosing which marketing tool becomes easier. A lot of people say, oh God, I did Google AdWords there, but you know what? I don't know if I really was worth it. I spent $500 a month and, you know, not really. So as Niall is going to say, well, what tracking system have you put in? I have a client, a telephone answering service client, and a big growth area for them is supplying telephone numbers just to put on people's websites, just to put on Facebook and LinkedIn. And no, that number is nowhere else. So when it says, please call to order, please call to inquire about, they ring that number, it's something like 20 quid a month. And they know when that phone rings, that was from my Google AdWord. That was from my website. The number is only visible on my website. It's not on the phone directory, it's not on anywhere else. It all rings in and you know instantly that it was from that source. To follow. So they track, and that's what's becoming more important, because you're better off spending a little money more cleverly than spending a lot of money and it's hit and miss. And most of us don't have money, let's be honest. I don't have tons of money to spend on marketing. So I have to be very clever, and I'm sure you're the same, because a lot of marketing money is wasted. And it's wasted because we filter stuff all the time. Like I said at the beginning, you need to hear or see stuff 4 to 7 times before it actually registers. Like David and I know each other through networking, and I use David all the time for my photography. But because I've used you, it's easy peasy. But if I didn't know David and I was at a networking meeting, I have to listen to what he's saying. Or I meet him in the street and somebody introduces me to him, or to you guys, not just personalizing it to David. Yeah. But you might need a photographer, or you might need coaching at this particular time, or you might be planning to go away on a holiday to lovely Carlo just at this moment. And then when the next time you come around to go, where would we go for a break? You may or may not remember what you saw before. So it's a challenge, okay? So one of the things I say to people is that everybody on your team is in marketing. There's a famous article many years ago by Rick Brown. I remember reading it when I was studying marketing years ago. And he said, marketing was too important to be left to the marketing department. Can you believe that? So in other words, marketing isn't just about the marketing of your company. It's the people on the ground. It's the combination of your staff. It's the combination of how good your delivery is. All those aspects influence hugely whether your business is going to be successful or not. Okay, so let's just jump into some of the strategic thinking part. I'm going to ask you that question. And the first thing I'm going to tell you today is about doing a marketing plan. Have any of you done a marketing plan? No? Kira, have you done a marketing plan?
Yeah, I have, like, not following any template, but, like, you know, I've thought it through all right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to show you 2 templates to help you identify things that might be of value to you. Julian, hello, you're very welcome. You there, Julian?
No. Hi, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Oh, good, because my camera, nothing is working for me today, and we're having a very crazy morning here.
Tell us about your business.
Yeah, so we produce a product called Lullaby Milk. So it's milk that helps with sleep, like difficulties or just winding down and things like that. So basically, my husband gets up in the middle of the night to milk the cows to ensure the cows are milked in darkness, and they produce melatonin the same way our bodies do. So in darkness, there's a gland in your brain that releases melatonin.
Yeah.
And just unfortunately, some people don't produce it as much as others to get through a full night's sleep. So that's how we, when we milk the cows, they do it the same way. So basically, they produce it, and it's in the milk, and people can drink it in the evening before they go to bed to just increase their levels of melatonin.
Wow. And do you have a name for your milk product?
Lullaby Milk.
Lullaby Milk. Oh.
That's fascinating, Julian. It really is. Wow.
It is quite fascinating. Yeah, I was fascinated when I met him, and he was doing it for a few years before I arrived on. So it is very fascinating, and it's quite interesting because I suppose I lived in America before I moved back home.
Yeah.
And everybody took melatonin supplements. It was constant because they're over the counter over there. So I thought it was quite fascinating to have a natural product. So we have a lot of, I suppose, kind of customers where it's a lot of parents with children, and I suppose as well, if there's difficulties with autism and things like that, we've had great feedback on how well it's actually helped in getting the evening routine a lot better. So
wow, that's so interesting and different. And where does one buy your milk?
So at the moment we're in Super Value and Centra nationwide. We're on Centra distribution, but like if your local store isn't a regular stockist, because we're kind of trying, they're all individually owned, so we're trying to build in rural kind of areas at the moment.
Yeah.
They can order it in for you. We're also setting up online direct sales at the moment, so we're hoping to have that up and running in the next 2 to 3 months. So we're making a lot of changes at the moment in relation to our marketing as well. We had it outsourced, and I've decided to take it over because we're changing our kind of view of Lullaby Milk and the family-run farm. So we're kind of bringing it closer to home and kind of making sure we're getting the message across of it being a family-run business as well, as opposed to just being a business.
A big commercial one,
our whole business plan around the concept of actually people realizing it's actually coming more from ourselves than from somebody else, bringing across that message. So we want to get the message out there ourselves and bring our boys into it as well, because we have 2 small boys so who drink it. So it's a great, we're looking forward to the new business plan, and this is why this is so great for me, because I'm not like good at marketing at all. I'm learning, I'm starting from scratch. So we took it over there at the start of January. So yeah, so it'll be good and it'll be interesting, and I'm looking forward to kind of just like getting my head around every aspect of marketing as opposed to just Facebook and Instagram and things like that. So yeah.
Well, Julian, it's you come to the right place. There's no doubt about it. You're going to start a marketing right through to social media and then getting publicity. Sounds like it's a great story. I don't know if you've used PR before, but certainly it's ripe for social media and PR, and you'll learn an awful lot on this program. So I'm delighted that you came on board. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. And sorry, I missed the introductions earlier.
Don't worry, no, I made a note, and to people listening to the call, we're trying to learn a bit about each other's business too, because as Sorka said at the very beginning, we're going to learn as much from each other as we're going to learn from ourselves, because from me or the tutors, because basically it's the discussions and the examples and what people have done is actually going to be fascinating and interesting. So, okay, I'm going to move on. We will take a little break for the loo or coffee in a little while when it's appropriate, but we won't go straight through till 12:30 or so. We'll have a break. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the structure of the plan. Now here's a screen grab, but it's really boils down to 3 fundamental questions. So, Aisling, I don't know if your hotel has a marketing plan, does it?
Okay, no, that's no some problem. Of it is in our heads and some of it is on paper. And I just.
So I think there are 2 or 3 people talking at the same time. Are you in a room with others?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so some companies have marketing plans and some don't, but it doesn't matter what size you are. And if you're in a bigger company like Aisling is, maybe you might ask to see it or get an input into it, and maybe the owners have shared some of the ideas with you. But basically, even if you do a marketing plan in the back of an envelope, and I say that, that's a throwaway expression, obviously, but on a few sheets of paper, I think it's important that you structure it and you do the core stuff well, you do your thinking well. And if you do your thinking well, then ideas will flow. I mean, a lot of people jump straight into, let's promote the business, or let's get a brand, or let's get the name out there, or, and they haven't quite thought it out fully. The more you put the effort in now, the easier it is to make marketing decisions later on. People find that marketing becomes overwhelming because there's so much possibilities, there's so much to do, and they don't have a direction. And that's the key. The key is clarity, simplicity, and to get that, you need to answer these 3 questions. Where are we now? Where are we going? And how the hell are we going to get there? So as you can see in that, the last bit is the marketing activities that we speak about, social media and advertising and various other logos and names and all that kind of stuff, slogans. That comes after you've worked out the other parts quite well, okay? So there are several tools to answer the first part. Diagnostic, looking at your competitors and your own figures internally, doing market research. Now, you don't always have to do market research in a sense of buy market research. Market research can often be getting trade magazines. I know Aisling is in the hospitality sector. There's 2 or 3 leading hospitality magazines. There's websites where there's online stuff. I'm sure in the flower business and the food business, you've got your own publications that you want to look at, and even coaching websites. I'm a coach myself. I've been on lots of different websites where there's a lot of articles and trends happening, and some are involved in grief. There's probably newer stuff coming out all the time. So there are stuff you can do on the internet, which is wonderful. And as a matter of interest, do you know which is the 2nd largest search engine in the world? Obviously, Mrs. Google is number 1. Do you know what the 2nd largest one is?
YouTube.
Correct, YouTube. Amazing, isn't it? Yeah, and it's more, a lot of younger people are more visual, perhaps, and I don't want to say less fact-based, but they want it faster. And one way to get stuff faster is to watch it on a 2, 3, 4 minute video. I know, Ciara, there's loads of ads that interfere with your lovely viewing, and we all have to watch 2 ads before you see stuff. I mean, it's amazing what comes up. And that's very personalized and different to everybody, which is another one that, who's watching me? Big Brother's watching all the time, and AI and other tools are being used to, so if I went on to the Dolman Woodford Hotel website, I can guarantee you, nothing to do with Aisling, but I can guarantee you that ad will pop up all over the bloody place. I'll be on LinkedIn and there'll be an ad for your hotel. I'll be on YouTube and there'll be an ad, because that's what it does. It follows people around when you agree to cookies and you agree to these things. And believe it or not, there are people who are able to sell software. So when you look at a website, they can identify who you are. There's all sorts of little tricks now to figure out the leads system, for want of a better word. Follow? That's going on. It's kind of big brothery stuff, but it's all to do with learning who are ripe customers that are potential customers that could be followed up on. All right. So research is important. You don't have to pay for it. There's a load of it out there. YouTube have videos, and one of the tricks that people do is that they do make short animation videos, or they make about their business, because again, you can be found on YouTube, but you have to have a video up there to be found. So there's no point in saying, oh, YouTube is great, but if you don't have 1 or 2 videos explaining your stuff, or even David, I don't know, have you made a video? No, but you could make a video of, and I've seen some of your photographs, a video of some of your photographs with all the lights changing and different angles and all the rest. You can make a collage, for want of a better word. So it doesn't have to be a video as in a video recorder. But you could actually record sessions and make it into a video and put it up there and get huge value for you. Okay, and you get into that. So just to look at one of those slides in particular, what are the other products? Some of you may think that you're the only person doing it. I know our food lady Roots, you mentioned that you have come up with a salsa. So I'm sure there's other people selling salsa. You need to know the prices of it, the ingredients. And have you bought other people's salsa?
I have. Really, where the idea came from is that we were doing a movie night box, and it was healthy naturals that we had in it during lockdown, and everybody was asking where they could buy the salsa. So we developed it, sent to the lab to make sure that it was stable for the shelf and all that. So we knew there was a bit of a want there from our own customers. So then I went looking in the supermarkets to see what was available. And to be honest, you have your Doritos, Santa Maria, and a few other kind of ones like that are like big brands, but like it's not on the same level as what we're able to produce. But the shelf life would be obviously a lot shorter. So yeah, we did taste it, and it's a similar product, but ours would definitely be the more, like if you were, do you ever hear Blanco Neo tortilla chips? They're made in Carmel.
No,
they're homemade.
Okay.
So like our products would be like on the same level as them. So like they're a higher end product as opposed to just grabbing your cheap jar of salsa off the shelf, So that's kind of where we're hoping.
And how do you differentiate it? What do you say? How do you say yours is different?
Well, it's made locally for starters. The recipe is our own, and just how we brand our stuff, like that like it's made from a catering company, so we know that it works. We know that people like it, and that if you can have it at home without getting in like a private caterer, that you can kind of recreate that kind of sense of quality very easily. Good.
Excellent. Okay, so yeah. you've done your research. It is important that you're able to answer the question, why are you different and better?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you need to think out the things that are relevant to the marketplace to follow.
Yeah.
And and I'm not going to knock your idea, but I do like the idea of local produce. Do you follow?
Yeah.
And that might be a factor, but you probably have to. You've got a lot of messages, and we all have lots of messages to get across.
Yeah.
We don't have the space to put all the messages on the jar.
Yeah.
So we end up with what in marketing we call the USP, unique selling point, and it has to be a very tangible one. So I think what you're referring to, if I could use the word taste, yeah, and I mean, again, in your publicity and all the rest, if you did blind tasting, did people notice the different tastes between Dalmayo and yours and whatever,
Yeah.
That would be terrific. So it is very important we all know, and the price points that people charge. And, when you start selling through retail outlets, you discover that, you might want to sell a jar for $5. I mean, you'd be lucky to get £2 off. You'd be lucky to get £2 for it. Do you know what I mean? Because their margins are so high that, that they sell it in at such a low cost. You got to make sure it's viable and all these things. They're all part of people in our business hate the finance bit, but like this is where you can go bust. You can do stuff and undersell your pricing and you can be busy fools and not make enough. And that's a very important part of your preparation, your research in the early days. Okay. Good. So I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on vision and mission, because sometimes that's actually not an easy one to do straight off, because some of you mightn't be sure about your where you want to be, or where you want to focus on and be in the next 5 years. But that will come as you delve into a bit of marketing. So it's important that you kind of have an overview of what that is. So I'm going to start. The first thing I want to talk to you about is a tool called the Pestle. Have any of you heard of Pestle? No. Okay. So it's a macro tool. In other words, it's a tool to look at the bigger picture of the marketplace, if that makes sense. In other words, it's a very broad brush strokes approach to what's going on outside your front door. So the Pestle and the SWOT are the two tools I'm going to work with you on this morning as analytical tools. And I'd love when we meet again on the 28th, I have the date here in my diary somewhere, that you might have done a Pestle and a SWOT as homework. And I think you need to do it for your business. Now, they are very easy to do. Okay, the tools are very simple, universal, and it's up to you guys to apply it yourself. But what I am going to do is we're going to do one together, just to kind of show you the mechanics of it. Is that all right? So what I often do is either use, well, you have to use 6 different boxes because they are separate, but you can put items into each of the different boxes. That doesn't have to be too strict, if that makes sense. When we do the SWOT, it's a bit more strict. So in other words, you could put something in social, but equally you can put in economic, right? As long as it's on the page, that's really the good starting point, okay? So let me just talk you through how it works, and then we will do an example of it. We'll take a little break, and then we'll go into do the SWOT. And these are very important tools to get you started in marketing. I know when you kind of signed up for a marketing course, you probably thought, I want to learn all about Facebook and media and what's my slogan and all the rest, but that will come later. You really need the foundation stones of marketing first. And I want you to trust me on this, because like I've studied marketing 4 years in university. I'm at it 25 years on my own, never mind working for companies. And these two tools are the most important ones you will use, even if you're a one-person company. It doesn't matter. And you really, when you think through what you're going to get out of this, your marketing thinking will be so much stronger. Does that make sense? And you'll get more confidence that you're on the right track with your business idea, or equally, if there are shortcomings, how to help overcome those shortcomings. All right. And it might be lack of awareness of what you're doing or uniqueness. I can't remember who was it doing the stones. Audrey's not here now, but no, who said that the trait, was that you, Tanya? About it, yeah. Yeah. So somebody else has the similar idea, is that right?
It's a company in America that are just offering the product, not the grief care piece. But they've become really successful. And then when I researched it, they've put through a patent over in the States, but they've also registered a broad patent for everything to do with solidifying cremated remains in Europe. So I don't know how that will affect, because there's a lot of products out there using or changing cremated remains at the moment into different things.
I've heard of that.
So I don't know how broad their patent would be, or I know as in the impact it will have on other companies now, because they just filed it there maybe 2 months ago. Yeah.
But I mean, they can't stop everybody doing something slightly different to what they're...
Well, if my process is, perhaps not for jewelry, say, or diamonds, or, tattoo ink, or the multitude of things, but my process would be a refiring as well of the cremated remains, along with other sustainable ingredients, where, I think theirs is perhaps it has different elements in it, but they are putting it into a kiln and refiring it as well. Yeah. So I don't know if they can actually I don't know enough because I only did the course yesterday on patents, and I'm in contact with the IP office now, you know. So
yes, okay. Well, don't get disheartened. I mean, they're one
late,
company
Mark.
in America, you know, and a bit like local food for roots with their salsa, you know, the very fact is that you're somebody in Ireland, or it's a more, I'm going to say more human, more, what's the word? They can be more in touch with you than a big company in America.
Yeah, totally. But the attorney, you know, we had little pods, little breakout rooms, and I spoke to an attorney, and he said it could have an impact. He said, you know, like they ultimately, when if they filed a patent for Europe, it could affect a product here in Ireland.
Well, then maybe you just
see.
have to tweak your ingredients or some methodologies or whatever. But look,
perhaps
the more you know about the market sector, the more you can, like anybody else. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. But let me just tell you how this works. So if you want to get a sheet of paper out, and I'm going to do the same myself, the pad, we can look at a general marketplace. Now, this is not the ideal way to do it, but because you'd want to be doing it specifically for your industry. But I just want to start you off, and hopefully you can do a pestle and a swat in your own time the next couple of weeks and come back and we discuss that. The first thing we do on the 28th of March, I get the date out now, but in 2 weeks' time, what we will do is we will 24th. So a target for the 24th is to have a pestle and a swap done for your own business to get you going. Because part of what I hope you will be able to emerge from my 3 sessions is that you'll have a marketing plan for your business. I mean, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? Or at least the bones of it, or in Ashling and other cases where you're a larger company, to be able to see the marketing plan that somebody's done for your company and pull it apart in the nicest possible sense. At least be able to say, well, you've forgotten this and you didn't do that, or whatever. To follow? Okay. So there's 4 boxes. So the reason we use the mnemonic PESTLE or PESTEL is that there are 6 really super duper headings that you can use for your business. Okay. So some of you may not be in a position to write it down, but we can throw out ideas together collectively for what they are under each of the different headings. Okay. So just reading the little chats. So the difference between political and legal is the government's intention to do things but haven't done it yet. It's the EU stuff coming down the tracks. It's kind of people talking about it, and it might become legislation or wherever it might be. Okay. So for example, and Ashling's in the food business, and so are Roots. So calorie counting is a topic that's out there but hasn't yet been made legal. Okay. Legal is where it's employment law, and Tanya, you will have that issue with the patents and all that kind of stuff, and protection data, GDPRs for a lot of us in the room. Okay. The rest are explanatory. Environmental is not just to do with recycled paper. It could be what Donna is talking about is local sourcing, provenance, I think is the word we often use. Okay. So let's do political and see what it would be a very general conversation we're going to have at the moment, but what political things on the current agenda might affect our businesses. And you know, I know we can only speak individually. So is there any political things that are going on that are affecting your business?
Well, interventions, I suppose, on the price of energy.
Yeah.
I mean, energy is a cost for all businesses. So any possible new interventions that they plan to make down the road later this year because of all that's happening at the moment.
Yeah. You have to think about, and I know nobody really wants to think about politics and government too much, but you heard Eamon Ryan, he's coming into his own at the moment now because of energy, and he got hammered for saying people should drive 10 kilometers per hour slower because the journalists are all taking the mickey out of him, which is a bit unfair, and I'm not defending anybody, but what he was trying to make was each individual can do their own little thing to save, you know, walking to the shops instead of driving. And I don't know about you, but probably with your heating system at the moment, you're kind of taking off the little buttons a bit more. And I'm sure in the hotel, you're trying to think, do we need to heat everything all day, every day? So energy bills is a big thing at the moment, yeah. The VAT rate, I just happen to know with Ashling that it's 9% for hospitality, and that possibly will change again when the economy is back up again, back to 13. So that's a temporary situation. So there's a lot of, I suppose, emphasis on energy. There's a lot of emphasis on greenways and walkways, and eating out is part of it too. Anya, is there anything that's politically affecting your business?
I can't think of anything right now off the top of my head, no.
Actually, there is. You know, I'm sure you're helping companies online. Are you with your social media?
Yeah.
And purchasing online?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you know there's new legislation covering the guarantee of products sold online?
I didn't.
Okay, so there's legislation going through government as we speak. So if you go into a retail outlet and buy a product, there's a huge amount of guarantees for the consumer when they buy a product. Okay, fair enough. And that is now being extended to online. There was never legislation that covered, if you purchased online, what guarantees the consumer had. So there's legislation that's changing in your area. You need to be aware of the consumer rights when you purchase online. Okay. Any other, I mean, we have the energy crisis because of Ukraine and all the rest. I know my son-in-law works for an American corporation, and they can't get semiconductors. Semiconductors seem to be a huge problem all over the world. And did you know 1/3 of the good nickel in the world is manufactured by Russia? So there's going to be the crisis over on that side of the world going to affect costs hugely as we go forward. Okay, economic factors. So we've kind of got a bit of inflation going here now, haven't we, in Ireland? Yeah, prices are going up in the supermarkets. They're going up, seems to be everywhere. And I know we've talked about petrol, but certainly inflation is at 5.5% or something at the moment, having been at 1 or 2% for the last 5 years. So we're heading into an upward trend. Interest rates are starting to go up. House prices are definitely going up. You're seeing stories of 10, 12% recently where houses are going up in certain parts of the country.
Funerals are going up. That's part of why people are cremating more. I mean, that was part of what I discovered when I looked into the cremation business. You know, our cremation, our numbers are rising because people are not able to afford the average funeral. Burial plots are costing too much money.
Yeah.
We're actually running out of
burial space, probably. Interesting. And that's therefore that market, if you want to call it that, is expanding. You're absolutely right. We cremated my mum and my dad, which I was very surprised they went. They agreed many years before that's what they wanted, and we were all happy to do it. But yeah, it's, and I've spoken to hundreds of people, and they're all doing the same. And now, as the keepsake, I don't use that word lightly, but you know, a memento. What you're getting into, Tanya, is on the rise. I think people are more emotional and wanting recognition of stuff than ever before. You know, this in the ground and gone stuff is a little bit cold, and now it's keepsakey kind of stuff and so on. Yeah, good. Now that could go into social, Tanya, if you were looking at this in terms of trends. Economically, costs are going up, so people are cutting costs, and you might say the whole funeral area is changing. Yeah, very valid. Okay. Anything else in economic? Harder to get staff. Aisling, have you got loads of staff?
Staff issues, yeah. Staff, no.
Well, staff shortages, not issues, staff shortages. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I know,
it's very difficult to get them at the moment.
Yeah, and I know Circa's working on it very, very hard to help find staff in certain sectors, construction and hospitality and airline and so on. Is that right, Circa? Because again, there's, you know, people are moving around, and there's people that are traveling less with the crisis too. There's, like with COVID, with a lot of people who were moved into Ireland have moved out again now, and certainly with the crisis, they're maybe not coming back because of dangers of flights and travel and so on. Okay, so if people's costs are going up, then you know there might be less luxury goods purchased, which thankfully none of us might be in. but most definitely it's a changing environment, and we need to be aware of that for our own individual businesses. Okay, social. Now I know this is really tricky in the sense of trying to do a group with so many different elements to it, but social means society. So what's changing in society that might affect our business? David, do you have any thoughts? What's going on? Your volume seems to be a bit low.
Oh, sorry. Social doesn't really affect me too much.
It's a little bit challenging.
So
go on.
It wouldn't be a big challenge for my side.
Okay, but are people constantly looking for family photographs, mementos, the recording events?
Not my business. I don't do families.
You don't do
I
families?
work with anything with children and families. So
yeah.
No, I mean, I'm sure it affects that side of things, but that side of things seems to be the growing business, but it doesn't affect my commercial side of things.
Okay, we're having sound issues, David. I'm not sure what laptop or iPad you're on. But what is happening, because I do recognize your business is more corporate, but and I think it's very important when we come to websites, more and more people want to show off the staff on websites. If it's family owned, Julian, I'm sure mum and dad and 2 boys, those photographs on the farm with the cows doing something in situ, you know, up-to-date photographs is very, very important, because people want to touch and see who's delivering the service. Do you follow?
Yeah, people relate more as well.
Yeah, they want to relate to the owner. So the way to do it is pictorial, right? So that's quite important. It's the like we mentioned before about knowing where the food is coming from. That's become more important than ever before. It used to be just, oh, fine, turkey and ham on the table, or lovely vegetarian dish, but now it's a bit more, is it from my county? Is it from Carlow? Is it from, you know, local, or what, you know? And fair dues to Limerick Ham and place like that pushed Wicklow lamb, you know, we've heard of those years ago. Now it's everything is, even the drinks business is trying, each county has a craft gin or vodka to go along with. Yeah, okay. Any other changes socially? What's happening?
People are losing, maybe, you know, for me, it's people are losing religion.
Yeah.
So their faith is changing. They might be drawn more to ceremonial practices that are not specific, you know, on a particular belief system.
Yeah.
So they might want a bit of support around carrying out at their own memorial. You know, that was one area of thinking.
Yes.
And then like that also, people are perhaps more nostalgic because they're more aware of mortality because of all the deaths during COVID. And there is maybe also like that, a bank of people who haven't processed loss as efficiently as they could have because of the restrictions. So they were on their own for a long time, and maybe like that there's fear to come out and celebrate. So it's about drawing them out.
Yes. And I do know, Aisling, I don't know if Aisling would recognize it, but there's a lot more family gatherings now.
Mm-hmm.
And people want to go somewhere where the cousins and aunties and uncles and grandparents can stay, whether it's a large house, Airbnb, or hotels, and having the McDonagh gathering or whatever it is to follow. There's, Aisling, have you seen that? Where there's...
Yeah, I was going to say that would be from our side. Even people are very conscious still, while they might want that group together, they don't want any other group near them.
Yeah.
So like social distancing is gone, but still in people's heads, they want to be very much about themselves and not joined with other groups or mixing with people. So like that, bookings and things now, you know, we would have group communion confirmations this year, not nearly the same. That people want to kind of have their own rooms. They don't want to be mixed with others. So things like that have changed a lot. Yeah.
That's interesting. And can you do that? I mean, obviously there's a small number of function rooms and you have a big ballroom, you know, so.
Yeah, like luckily we do have function rooms that can be divided. They have kind of partitions, so we can still put them in, but we have to partition them off. But it would reduce the numbers. Now again, the communions and confirmations are changed a bit this year. They're not happening in the same way as they would have done pre-COVID, where there was big groups of them all together. They're kind of spread a little bit out, and some schools have even kind of allowed people to just get communion on particular Sundays in a month. It's not a big group effort.
Okay.
So some of it is changing like that, but yeah, it has made us relook.
Is that because there's less focus on having one bishop come down and do hundreds of kids the one go type
I
thing?
think it's a bit of both. I think there's a cost element to it as well, and some of the priests have said it's the kids. It's all about the dress and the money and the party, and not about the actual fact that they're getting communion. So they've taken that all away by not having a big party day, and it's just part of the mass and the ceremony, and they get their communion. So I think it's a bit of both.
Okay, all right, okay. So that's interesting for both of you, reflecting upon the changing times and changing attitudes, but still the COVID safety element too, you know. Terrific. So maybe one of the things, Aisling, that comes out of this is that you promote family gatherings in a safe room, you know, and that could be, from a social media point of view, a little gem that could be.
We actually had to change a lot of our photographs, where we would have had pictures of groups or people in the bar gathered. We had to take them out and kind of make them much more ones and twos and smaller groups. So it has changed a lot.
Yeah. Yes. So you're trying to, this is the challenge we all have, is visualizing our product or service, to follow. And I know Donna's there, like even just the making of the product in the kitchen, even a video of making that and putting that up on social media to show there's not a massive manufacturing plant. And again, people want to see stuff to follow. I mean, I mentioned YouTube being the second largest search engine. People want to see behind the scenes stuff. They're more curious than ever before. They do trust you, but they still want to kind of put their hand in the wound. I know that might seem a bad expression, but it's a real army expression. They want to nearly test that you are doing what you say you're doing, if that makes sense. To follow, they want to nearly proof that it is homemade, or it is proof that it's natural ingredients or whatever. And that's where the social media people and all this come into their own element, because they can, with now the quality. This is another thing when technology, the quality of smartphones is phenomenal. So I'm sure there's video makers out there who made a fortune, and now everybody's doing their own video and sticking it up on websites and YouTube and.
Down with smartphones.
Pardon?
Down with smartphones.
Yeah, that's true. So, Don, have you made any kind of videos or visuals of what you do?
We've made like some reels on Instagram, and we do behind the scenes sometimes as well, but we're kind of feeding it out slowly because we're not in supermarkets yet. We're just in local retailers. So we're not at that capacity really to be pushing it out to the point of selling hundreds of jars.
Yes.
So, but it's definitely something that we do outside the salsa. We always do for our catering menus and things like that over the last 2 years, especially since COVID happened, showing our faces more online and showing our kitchen and what we do behind the scenes.
Great. Yeah, no, you're on the right track. And even just make the stuff and not necessarily post it just yet, but if you can, you know, be thinking about that. Great. Okay. Super. Good. So that brings us to technology, and I suppose, as David would say, damn those smartphones for people taking their own photographs. So from your point of view, that is a big competitive slight disadvantage, you know what I mean? And you kind of have to work a little bit harder on why you would choose a professional photographer over a smartphone, for example. Yeah. No, we're definitely having sound issues, David. Don't know if you want to go out and come in again, or microphone is okay. So what other technological? Okay, so we've got smartphones where people can video stuff, and it's the visualization. People are able to understand your product better if they can kind of see it, you know, or the process. What else is happening with technology? I mean, there's fantastic software out there for businesses that I'm sure, is it Anya, you in the social media? I'm trying to remember all your names and what you're doing. And Marie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I train in small business owners how to use Canva for their visual marketing.
Good. What does that do, that product?
Canva can make images for any of your social media platforms, brochures, presentations. They've also now brought in well, it's not that recent anymore, but the video element. So there's an awful lot of kind of visual marketing type things in any format, really.
Brilliant. So you're able to latch on to that advancement and then maximize it as distinct from see it as a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And to get master it, yeah. Nile is a big one for HubSpot, and that's again a huge tracking marketing system for seeing all your leads coming in different channels and how they're all using. So, you know, you can embrace technology or not. And I'm sure David has the, you know, I was going to say power free, what's the word? Cable free lighting and all kinds of equipment that makes it very flexible for your job and advancements. Everybody should be looking at advancements in their field to see how they can maximize it. All right. Legal, there's no point in really talking too much about legal. That's more GDPR, which is for those in social media, it's hugely important that we understand how we gather databases and all that stuff. There's employment law if you've got 2 or 3 people working with you and so on. Then there's health and safety. There's a few of you in the, I know Don and so on, that you could be inspected by the health and safety people at any time, and you have to have your standards and procedures up to date and so on. And in other businesses, there's legal elements of what you can and can't do, and that's important. Now, the last one before we take a break is environment. Okay, so what are the things happening out there in a broader sense that we need to be aware of or are changing in your business? Is there anything that's relevant in your business? I know. I worked with a hotel group in Bray, and they were trying to get rid of plastic because plastic is kind of seen as very unfriendly to the environment, and they're going in for paper straws and paper cups and recyclable this, that's the other. So there's a big trend towards recycling. Although I was in a fast food operator, I think 2 years ago, and the guy gave me 2 straws, and I said, okay, thanks. Off I went. And after 10 minutes, I knew why he gave me the 2 straws. Do you know why, Tanya? The paper straw was useless.
Yeah.
Disintegrated in my hand virtually. So I needed 2 to get the bottom of my milkshake. It was hilarious. But
yeah, we're all about convenience.
Yeah.
For me, environmental wise, I mean, like, I don't know how much people will care about this, but we're not very well educated around cremated remains are essentially not useful for the environment. Like, they have very high pH levels, and if you bury them, even if you put them in a biodegradable container, if you dug them up like 3 years later, the container would have degraded, but there'd be a clump of ash. Okay. So it does affect the plants around it. And if you scatter, I mean, they've put in, like, privately, lots of golf courses have stopped people from scattering remains there because that became a kind of a
trendy thing,
phenomenon, trend thing, but it was ruining the golf course grass. So that's how toxic it is, because it's mixed up with lots of other things. It's not just pure carbon.
Yeah.
So my product would be, well, as in, I'm kind of trying to promote the idea that the refiring process alchemizes the toxicity, you know, by changing those pH levels, so that you can kind of add the stone back into the land and it doesn't affect nature. So I have kind of looked at it from that point of view. But again, it's this thing is whether actually people care, you know, like, we're still using plastic straws. We don't give a shit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, because it suits us, because the others don't work, and we just grin and bear it, you know. Yeah. David, anything in the environment affect your business?
I'm close to talk because you can't hear me. Again, just to say that certain things that have come about is the use of modern lighting, which uses a huge amount less electricity than it did 20 years ago. And the very fact that I can use battery power now means that I'm not going from the mains. The charging takes much faster and uses about 25% of the electricity of the lights I would have used 25 years ago, 20 years ago. So it is, in that respect, it's quite huge. more the stuff that I'm using now, a lot of the stuff is all kind of recyclable through the WEEE, whereas the capacitors, again, using 20 years ago, were not recyclable, not reusable. So they just ended up being dumped. So there have been changes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The environment and Julian, the whole allergies and understanding out there of how food's affecting people, and you talked about, I think, some people with special needs. Did I recall you saying something that we heard it helps?
Yes. Yeah, like we've had a lot of parents who've like say would have a child with autism, and we have doctors who actually recommend to try our product before they'd actually put them on another tablet forms, because if they have kind of a wide range of tablets, it just takes it out of that. So it was more so to do with like they finding a natural form to help with an issue, as opposed to actually relying on tablet form and having to give a child another one, because parents don't like that. I know myself.
Yeah.
So but on yeah, environmental, I suppose it's like obviously the farm is just another whole new level.
Yeah.
I leave that to Jar. But also as well with just our cartons and things like that, with Tetra Pak and all that, there's a lot of changes happening and stuff. So there, you know, you're always looking at new ways to find better options and things like that. So that's something that they're actually doing at the moment. They're introducing a new type of the layers that go into it. So that should be, we should be getting updates on that closer to the summer. So it's so yeah, there's it kind of runs on a lot of different levels.
That's good. And I mean, every business now is kind of, and I know Mayara has just joined us. She's with a hotel group, and as is Aisling, the whole use of energy. And I think your end customers, our guests, are keen to know that you're doing your bit for the environment. And I'm sure the social media marketing people in the room would say, if we can promote an environmental angle, that would make our product more susceptible or differentiated from somebody else's. Anya, are you finding that there's an interest in the environment?
Not overly at the moment. With some people, yes, and with others, no.
Yeah, but in some, I would agree that with that, in some sectors, there's an interest in you know, what you're doing. I know there's two hoteliers on the line. I know it's a hotel in the west of Ireland, Westport Woods, and some years ago they were completely free of using oil as an energy source, using solar and wood pellets, and they recycled the veg and all kind, not recycle it, but obviously that sounds wrong, used it appropriately, and that was one of the big features of where they were to promote their operation as being environmental friendly and less dependent on, which now turns out to be hugely important on gas and oil, which the energy costs are going up phenomenally. So there's a healthy interest by consumers in our use of energy and our use of technologies. I think it's increased enormously compared to yesteryear. Mayara, are you able to speak and introduce yourself, please? I know you're with the Carlton Hotel. You there? Oh. Okay. All right. Will we take a little 10-minute break? You happy with that? Maybe 6 or 7 minutes, loo and coffee and power up again. My watch says nearly 10 to, is it really? Not yet 10 to. Okay. So we'll literally come back at 12 and we'll do the SWOT. Does that sound good? So catch up on your messages and all that stuff. Okay. Super. Catch you then.
Oh.
don't know if any of you are back yet. You back yet? Get your coffee and loot. Oh, you're still sound issues, David? Mayara, are you there?
Hello. Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm in the office at the moment.
That's okay.
There are a few people here. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You're in the Carlton. Which Carlton hotel?
Carlton Dublin Airport.
Dublin Airport.
Inside the airport. Yeah, I'm in the marketing here.
Oh, you're in marketing. Good. Good.
Yeah.
It's a lovely hotel. I've worked with your sister hotel in Blanchester there a few months ago.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Customer care training. Yeah.
Oh, nice hotel as well. At the moment, I'm focused on this property only.
Yeah.
But of course, we can apply a few techniques to Blanchardstown as well.
Yes. Good, good. Yeah, well, today's a little heavy. It's the kind of analysis part of marketing, but the next week we'll be getting into the activities and then the social media and other things. So it's it builds up, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully the 2-hour slots are kind of short and tight, and you're trying to. I know everyone's trying to fit it in while they're working elsewhere. It's a bit of a little bit of a challenge. Yeah. Okay, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Are we back? Sorry, I can see David. Are the others back? Just unmute and just say you're there so we can start again, please.
I'm back.
Thanks, Anya. Tanya?
I'm back.
Good, Donna. Good. Okay, I'll get going. We're going to do this in next 25 minutes or so. Look at the SWOT. Have any of you done a SWOT before? Mayara, have you done a SWOT in your hotel?
Yeah. I have these analyses ready and I keep updating all the time.
Very good. Good student. A good marketing student.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. That's Julian, the basic.
Okay, good stuff. Julian, have you done a SWOT before? It's not back. No. And Tanya, okay. Well, we're going to go ahead. I'm sure if you missed some of it, you catch up on the recording. But I want to explain how a SWOT works. A SWOT is very popular because it's easy to do, but also generates business opportunities and looks at your weaknesses to see can you get and eliminate and get rid of them. So I'm going to show you, David, just nod or shake your head. Have you done a SWOT on your business? No, not really. Okay. So hopefully this will be of interest to everybody. And Tanya, especially you, although you're not sure if you're in the room. You there, Tanya? Not back yet. Okay. So I'm going to explain all these weird lines and wonderful stuff. And I've written an article on how to write a marketing plan. So I'll send that to Surika. And Surika, you might circulate it to the people on the course. That might be valuable reading, and certainly in preparation for meeting in 2 weeks' time could be very useful if you missed part of the session or you didn't fully grasp some of the things that might be more explained in a bit more detail in the article. So, Surika, I'll send that to you later, okay? So, the thing about a SWOT, like any brainstorming technique, is if you make boxes and you put your thoughts into boxes, you generate lots of ideas compared to a blank sheet of paper. The objective of this tool is to come up with objectives and goals for your business, where you're going to make money. So your brain works in lots of different ways, but with a blank sheet of paper, it's not really helping you be creative. A bit like pre-doing the pestle, it doesn't help by having a blank sheet of paper and no headings. So headings focus the brain and the mind. And also the brain knows that you're going to be dealing with opportunities and weaknesses later. So it starts to generate ideas already for you. So the 4 boxes are strengths, weaknesses on the left-hand side, opportunities and threats on the right-hand side. Some people lay it out slightly differently, but I find this very, very helpful. Okay, so you have 4 boxes effectively. And on the left-hand side, they are internal to you, internal to your business. And on the right-hand side, they're external to you. And the reason we separate the two is that if we didn't separate, you could have duplications all over the place. So if you had weaknesses, David said he didn't have certain cameras or lighting and was a bit inflexible, or until recently you didn't have a studio, David, you told us you recently took on a studio. So your weakness might have been a studio, a lack of a studio, for example. And you could say the opportunity was to hire a studio or rent a studio. So they're both the same thing. So there's no point in duplicating it and thinking, oh, I've cracked this, when in fact you haven't cracked it. All you've done is actually given the solution. So take your time and fill in your strengths, fill in your weaknesses, and don't be surprised that you might have a lot. I mean, if you were Aer Lingus or Ryanair or RTE, huge companies, you'd have lots and lots of weaknesses too, because the more you delve into areas of your business, oh, we can't, you know, that's a weakness, and so on, okay? And if you, for example, didn't have a marketing plan for your business, that would trigger quite a lot of weaknesses about you don't have a monthly schedule, you don't have a marketing budget, and so on. So that's kind of, it throws up quite a few things. And then the external side, the weaknesses and the opportunities are the two key boxes on this tool. On the right-hand side, we've got opportunities, top box. And there are things like selling online, selling into new outlets. Tanya's coming up with new products. There could be a whole range of products in that area or space. Mightn't all got to do with exactly the current thinking on products, okay? And I'm sure in social media, there's TikTok and all sorts of other things you may or may not be using, or at least your clients might be using it. There's opportunities in there too, all right? And then threats. Yes, threats are worth noting. I mean, it's could be inflation, it could be shortage of products because of the war, unfortunately, or COVID related. A lot of industries have challenges with staff, getting staff, hotels especially, recruitment. And I know Circa is working on that with and also trying to provide trained staff rather than just staff, which is a fantastic concept so that when people hit the ground, they're more able to start work immediately. That's a fantastic opportunity for trained in that they're taking advantage of. The threats then worth noting. You mightn't be able to control them, but they're worth noting because every cloud is a silver lining. We say every dark cloud is a silver lining, and you might just seize a threat and turn it into an opportunity. That would be fantastic. So then what you do, you fill in the 4 boxes very quickly. And then you look at the 3 boxes in particular: weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what weakness, if it was converted into a positive strength, would generate additional income for you? So I think, David, you mentioned to me a couple of days ago, you might be looking at your logo. So some people might say the logo is out of date, or the messaging isn't clear or specialized enough. And hopefully in 1 year's time, when you're doing your SWOT again, you'd have in that strengths box the stuff that was in the weakness the year before. In other words, you've converted a weakness into a strength. Take the opportunities box. You don't have to have a matching strength. That's why people like Anya and Marie and me and others are in business, is because companies need to hire out the marketing expertise because they don't have it in-house. And it's easier and quicker and more economic to get someone outside who knows what they're doing exactly, rather than have a staff inside who may not be as good at it. So you don't have to have the strength in-house, but you need to be sure that it's the right opportunity to take advantage of. Okay, so it might be moving into new markets, new products, new methods of delivery. Could be a variety of opportunities that are presenting itself. Okay, or indeed more of a certain market sector. That's what we call increased market share through marketing activities. Threats, look and see them. Is there anything you can do about it? Sometimes you can't. I'm not going to talk about hospitality too much, but it's a very simple one we can all visualize. Aisling and others, I'm sure you've trouble in the kitchen with chefs. So what some, as in shortage of them, and people are leaving the hospitality sector and moving into corporate world because they can work 9 to 5 in a large accountancy like KPMG or some government head office and work 9 to 5 and don't have to work weekends. So it's a lot more attractive, unfortunately, than working in a hotel beside the airport. God knows what hour on a Saturday, Sunday night. So what chefs are being asked to do is to train their staff now, which they were never asked to do before, run programs, apprenticeships. There's a lot more internal apprenticeships than ever before. So what we're looking to do now is to try and do a SWOT, and literally we'll do it together. We'll run a few samples of what it might look like. So the first thing I would suggest you do is we identify some strengths. Okay, so we just take a minute. If I was you, I would do across the middle of the page, nothing to do with religion, Tanya, you'd be delighted to hear, but across the middle of the page to give you 4 boxes, and S at the top, W in the bottom, O in the top right, T in the bottom left, and just do a little brainstorm on what a SWOT would be for your business. Okay, Julian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good stuff.
Sorry,
have you done a SWOT before?
Yeah, we have, yeah.
Okay, so this might be an interesting one, even just to not look at your other SWOT just yet, and maybe spend a few minutes, trying to do one with a fresh set of eyes.
It's been a few years.
Okay, well then that's good.
For the rebranding, yeah, it was back in 2015, so with the food category, so. Great.
Well, they do SWOTs do go out of date because the marketplace has changed and your ideas changed, Mayora in the Carlton Hotel just a minute ago said that she updates hers regularly. I mean, even if you update it once a year, it's pretty good. Do you follow?
Yeah.
Aisling, did we ever get to the question about do you have a marketing plan for the hotel?
Yes, we do.
And have you seen it?
Yeah, no, I have. I have even fed into it. Like we have it. It's in, some of it is real and some of it is in people's heads. But there's the bones of one there. But this would be great to be able to do a proper one after this.
Yeah. Well, one trick where there's a number of employees now, Julian, it might be you and your husband, and Anya, people might be working on your own. But if you have a number of people around you, it's a great idea to do brainstorm SWOT.
Oh.
Now, if Tanya and David and others are on your own, what I would suggest you do is you do a SWOT to the best you can, and then maybe show it to a family member, or you might have somebody in business who you respect. So would you just have a look at that and see, am I missing something? Because fresh eyes are very, very important, and you may not have the brainstorming opportunity that you might have with the management team in a hotel or a bigger operation, Okay, Tanya, have you done a SWOT before? I think you're up.
And I have the main screen on. I was trying to find the button. Yeah, I've done one. I'm looking at it here. I mean, I'm at the business plan level. I don't know how good it is, but I've done it.
No, it is good because
it's already changing.
Yeah, but it would be good because it's your one. It's not, you're not looking at somebody else's, and the idea is that you're always looking for new things to add to it, and the opportunities box is the big box. Okay, so well, I'm just going to talk you through how it might work. So the strengths would be, things like we're well known, or we're well known in the area. We have a viable product or a viable idea. If you have staff, I know there's some of the companies in the room have bigger staff, so they might say they have loyal staff. It doesn't mean that they're the best in the world. So staff can pop in on 2 elements. Mightn't be relevant for those of you who don't have staff, but you could have long-serving staff, but they mightn't be at management level enough. There might be shortages of skill sets in staff. So staff can be in the strengths and the weaknesses. Okay, but let's look at the weaknesses. And typically, a lot of companies don't have like a monthly action plan, which is what I'm hoping to get to you guys ultimately by the end of my 3 sessions with it. Okay, so you may put down no monthly action plan. You might put down no marketing plan, or the marketing plan might be in people's heads, as Aisling says. And most businesses, the marketing is in their heads, and I'm a bit guilty of that myself. You kind of think you know what you need to do, but it's sometimes it's a good exercise to write stuff down. Donna, have you written down a marketing plan or a SWOT for your business?
I did about 6 years ago when I did a local enterprise start your own business course, and I haven't really done one since. We rebranded in 2020, So I suppose along with the company that I used, we would have sat down, but I never actually wrote one out.
Okay.
You know, recently.
Okay, I do think in particular SWOT, if you could have a SWOT for 2 weeks time, and is there anybody else who could do it with you, or are you on your own?
No, I have a business partner. I can do it with him. Yeah.
Great. Okay, and you might have a brother or a dad or something like that, just to kind of have a look over, or a sister. I don't mean sexist, you know, just have a family member who might just say, yeah, that sounds good, or you know, have you thought of this? It's that have you thought of is where you're looking for in your SWOT. Do you follow?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of people in the room might say things like the concept is still developing, not well known. And I'm dying to see your branding and websites in the next week or two with me to see if we can, not just me, but other people make some suggestions, because one of the things I've discovered in business is that a lot of companies have marketing secrets. You know, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. In other words, that some of their best points, their USPs, their brilliant ideas, whatever, aren't well known to the customers or the target market. Follow? Like, I don't know, David, how many years, looking at your goatee beard now, how many years you're a photographer? But experience is hugely valuable in certain sectors. David, have you got a milestone year? Can you? No, not able to. Okay, do in the chat or else give your fingers. Okay, but I've worked with lots of companies, and I'm visiting one this afternoon, and they're 30 years in business. So we made a big thing. When I discovered they were 30 years in business, they said, sure, that's not important. And they distribute steel. It is very important that when people look at the company, can see that they've been doing this a long time, and therefore there's a lot of trust and there's a lot of cred, because you know that's quite important. So a marketing secret is something that you know, but other people don't know about your business. Okay, so that's important. What other anyone would like to share what a typical weakness? Not saying it's about your company, but you know, I mean, Julian, you might say lack of awareness, or you're limited to only two big chains. I think you mentioned that you're in a few chains. They're both, you could look at it as an opportunity to get into more, but you might be talking about the limits that you have currently, or you might have a one-trick pony. You might just really do one thing, and there's a dependency on that, for example. Okay. Opportunities. Go on, Julian.
Yeah, no, I think we're just trying to open up the opportunity for customers to be able to be, you know, get it, like, so that's why I suppose we did do a feasibility. Well, we didn't do it myself, but it was a feasibility study that was done for us. I think that's where we have one done recently, but it was specific to online and the advantages and disadvantages and what we need to tackle and what we don't, you know. So it's we just find that we do want to, that's what kind of brought it to home, was opening up opportunities for customers to be able to get different channels. Good.
So speaking of opportunity, so you're mentioning online sales, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct. And that's a fantastic opportunity. Some people, you know, like a lot more, you see it, and even in my own little cul-de-sac here, you know, Tesco delivering home deliveries, there's a huge increase in that for mum and dads working and so on. And people are exploiting that opportunity to do the online, and just it broadens your target market. Tanya, would you foresee that you would be online as well?
Online in so much as whether the
selling products online, like people order and pay and you send the stuff to them.
Yeah, well, there's a complication. I mean, this is the thing I'm going to have to look at really in relation to, you know, if they're sending in a full body of ash, or whether it's just going to be like 5 grams of ash, because it's a, you know, you can't, essentially there's laws around ashes, cremated remains. So they probably would hand deliver them. That was the original idea. But they would certainly commit, you know, to after their assessment to the product by payment online. Yeah.
And where are you based, Tanya?
So I'm in the Midlands at the moment, but like I don't have a premises that would hold the function. So that's my weakness, you know, yet. I mean, it's part of the plan. I mean, I'm looking at premises. And I essentially would want a space that would allow for holding therapeutic work and a studio to do the conversion. So that's, you know, so I'm really, it's really ideas stage and looking at grants and things like that.
Feasibility of all of that. Yeah. Okay, so how we get our product to the marketplace and so on, that's key part of marketing is the distribution side, you know, and logistically, if you're in the Midlands, and unless you're in Athlone or somewhere big, it's going to be hard to get you. And the question would be, do you have collection points, or you're going to have to look at postage? And as you say, there's rules around sending ashes. I'm sure, you know, you might have to get a courier company that kind of specializes and respects it and all that kind of stuff. Because, you know, the last thing you want is someone's ashes to be lost. And if that's the only bit, you know, all that complication and emotion and so on, you know, it's not. So yeah, you have to look at the logistics and see, is there opportunities? Dave, can you think of opportunities that you might get into or do more of? That, you know, I think you and I spoke about maybe doing newsletters and communicating some of your visuals. Or maybe you put it in the chat. Maybe you have done the chat. Okay, thanks.
Mark, just there, and one thing we found is we completed the feasibility study pre-COVID, so it was literally only about 6 months before we completed it. Not many distribution companies were willing to take us on because of being a liquid product and things like that. And they were kind of veering away from us. But after COVID, we found out that it was actually another company were delivering milk nationwide, and we went back and revisited it, and there was actually quite a lot of companies who were willing to take us on.
Fabulous.
So it's just interesting that sometimes if you get to a roadblock, that if you revisit it again, circumstances can change. And we just, like, as opposed to closing the door on that option, and now we're close to being ready to set up. So
that's fantastic. Yeah.
It's good to kind of sometimes revisit areas that you did come across that were hurdle, like, or whatever, and maybe some things have changed to get over that.
Well, do you know, Julian, you've put the nail on the head here, because when you write down in a strategy thing like the SWOT that you have a weakness, your brain is looking out for solutions because you've written it down and it's tangible. So if you said, I have a distribution problem, or Tanya's talking about how do I get some of these lovely ashes to me and all the rest. Okay, you mightn't have it cracked, but your brain is looking out for stuff. And you might be able to piggyback on something else. Or, I mean, there might be a church or somewhere safe, somewhere that they agreed to be the pickup point for you. And once a week you drive down and collect it from the back of some big church who are very happy to partner with you. Do you follow? No, churches probably wouldn't be the right thing now that I think of it. They don't like the idea of what you're doing probably, but a safe position or place. Do you follow? So you're more alert and more attentive once you write it down or put the thought out there. Solutions will come when you're conscious of what solution you need. When you haven't thought it out, stuff goes by and you don't see it, if that makes sense. And Julian, that sounds like a great piggybacking, you know, so if you have a distribution problem or whatever, you know, I've just seen David, 41 years. That's fantastic. Congratulations.
That's where this came from.
Didn't think you were that old, but
I started when I was 3.
I know, yes. But did you celebrate your 40th years in business?
No, really. I kind of took my first commission back then, but it was after that I went to college and I did an apprenticeship and other things. So I didn't actually start in business until 1989.
Right.
But I was still kind of working as a photographer part-time.
Well, do you know, if I could just say so, I would make a big thing, and it doesn't have to be, no one needs to know when you did your first commission, you know, but I certainly would make a big thing of 40 years. You could nearly say, this is my 40th year to follow, and nobody be the wiser, and get a little logo and get a little badge and bump up, because it's a fantastic landmark, to be perfectly honest. Do you know what I mean?
I said that one day when I was in a health centre, somebody turned around and handed me a Zimmer frame. So no, probably not a good idea.
Well, you're a healthy looking guy for 40 years in business. So I suppose my point is, these are marketing opportunities we shouldn't let go by, or milestones. And another thing I'm going to say to all of you is that what's becoming hugely important in marketing terms, and I'll explain it when we look at the websites in the next session, is testimonials, case studies, endorsements. Like Julian, if you can have on your website, and I will look at it for the next day, but have oh, we sell it in Super Value, or it's like they talk about books. You publish a book, and it's available in all leading stores nationwide, or Easton's and whatever else it is. Wow, that's pretty good. Or we sell it in Super Value. That's huge cred. So don't misunderstand or be naive about thinking, that's a huge achievement to get listed in some of these places, or that's why we all now, and I'm sure, David, you do it as well. Like when you do work for a company, you're very proud that they have chosen you to do the work. So we have to be boastful in marketing. I suppose that's the way I'm saying it. Do you follow? We have to let people know our achievements, because if we don't tell them, they don't know, and they become marketing secrets, and that's really not good. So in the opportunity box, new products or tweaks of products. David mentioned drone, and again, a lot of photographers have moved into it because it's not too dissimilar to photography in sense it's recording what goes on. New variants of your products, new additions, new tweaks, enhancements. You might be communicating that you're involved in different sectors. So Aisling, we mentioned earlier on, Mayara, you may not be involved in, but family gatherings, using your function rooms for dinners. I know in Carlton and Dublin Airport, I've used your rooms there before. You've got lots of meeting rooms. They could be used for family gatherings in the post-COVID stuff. Do you follow? A marketing secret from your point of view is, well, number one, you have a car park, and number two, you're 6 minutes from the airport. Bar the Maldron in the airport, the Great Southern, you're probably the third nearest hotel, which is a huge plus. And you might need to say that to people a bit more directly. You might need to say it's like 6 minutes to Terminal 1, just because obviously you want to comply. You're in the airport. I mean, there's a hotel in Ashburn used to call themselves an airport hotel, and anybody would stay there would just go, this is ridiculous, because you had, 15 miles to drive to the airport, and it wasn't quite as simple as all of that. Or if you run shuttle buses that they run every 20 minutes or on demand or something. So whatever you might feel are secrets, it's very important that you maximize them in terms of the opportunity to promote that particular thing. Joint ventures with other organizations, and Julian, endorsements. If I'm hearing what you're saying about your product being great for kids and so on, so would it be great if the something association endorsed it or listed as a preferred supplier or whatever it is, or studies that show the results of what you're talking about. These help people trust your business. I think that's very, very important, that there's more and more people want to know where your stuff is coming from, nearly your story, or how you got to where you are, because they can relate to that. I know when you're Super Value, it doesn't really matter who owns Super Value anymore, but it does matter when you're a small business. And David calls us is David Murphy Photography, davidmurphy.ie. So it's very much your name is on the tin. So it's not David Murphy sending out a junior 20-year-old apprentice or 22-year-old apprentice to do an important photo shoot. It's always David himself. Isn't that right, David? So that's kind of the image and the brand that David's communicating, is it's all about me. And that has to be the same for a lot of one-person bands. And then the opposite is true for the corporates, that how big you are, how strong you are, how long you're established makes a very important thing. All right. And then the threats. Just the last point I want to make is that, dependency on yourself is obviously a big threat, and a big threat might be cash flow as well too. Tanya, I can see your startup costs are going to be significant, I would imagine. Would they be?
Well, I've calculated them at 14,000.
Well, that's doable. Okay.
It's doable. But that's based on renting a premises rather than.
Yeah, buy, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also you're going to have to buy equipment, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it is actually one like, I mean, the kiln is the biggest part, and the type of kiln that I've sourced, that uses standard grid electricity is only maybe €3,000.
Good. Good. Okay. So again, you know, the dependency on one machine, on you, on getting the right premises, there's a little bit hanging on all of that. But the thing about it's like the kids story. Some of you've got kids, I'm sure, or you probably were young once. You heard the famous joke, "How to eat an elephant?" And you look at this 40-ton elephant, and it's bite by bite. So it's the same with marketing. In business, you tackle your big business problem bite by bite. So don't get overwhelmed by the size of the task. Break it down into smaller parts. And so I'm going to finish now by saying to you guys, I'd love you to do a pestilence SWOT. Some of you had done one before, not for a while. And maybe, Sorika, I'm going to send you, it'll be this afternoon because I have to rush, an article, how to write a marketing plan. And with that, there will be the suggestion that maybe you'd have a SWOT and pestle done for the next session on the 24th. And we can then identify from it some objectives and goals, and then bring you through into the marketing tools. Is that all right? So today was all about strategy, the overview of a marketing plan, what's in a marketing plan, where are we now, where are we going, how are we going to get there? So that what we've done today is a very important third part of marketing, which is where are we now? That's kind of, you've done a really big important part if you can get that done, and revisit your SWOTs if you've done them. And if you haven't done one before, hopefully this was of value. And again, we will move forward into really sexy stuff the next time, websites and logos and how to choose a logo, how to choose a brand, how to get your fonts right, do a really, really good exercise and all of that. Okay. So thank you for your time. And in the next day or two, Sorika will distribute the marketing plan article, which might make it a bit more detailed. And for those of you who are in and out with technology, and for those of you who weren't here today, if you read the article, you will catch up immediately. You don't really need to listen to 2 hours of stuff again. The article will explain it all. Okay. So I'll sign off and thank you. It's lovely to meet you all. And I was just looking at my dates, Aisling. I'll be down to you on the 6th, let's see.
Perfect.
It's a small world.
I'm telling you.
Small world. Listen, thanks a mil, guys.
Thanks very much.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Marianne.
Lovely to join with you today. Okay. Sorry, are you still there?